My name is Vicki Ellis, and I am the Executive Director of Heritage Ranch Christian Children's Home. Today, I want to talk to you about one of Erikson's psychostages of development, which is identity versus role confusion. So, if you are a parent to a teenager, then this is something you're going to want to pay a lot of attention to. This stage is from 12 to 18 years old, and appropriately, Erikson deemed this a stage where a child is experiencing identity versus role confusion. So this is the fifth psychosocial stage and takes place during the turbulent teenage years. This stage plays a really essential role in developing a sense of personal identity, which will influence behavior for the rest of a person's life. So it is really important that during this stage, when a child is transitioning from childhood to adulthood, to understand that it is very normal that they may become confused or insecure about themselves and especially how they fit into society. As teenagers seek to establish a sense of self, it is very common that they may experiment with different roles, activities, and behaviors. So, according to Erikson, this was really important to the process of forming a strong identity and developing a sense of direction in life. Now, teen behavior often seems really unpredictable and often feels very impulsive. But all of this is a part of the process of finding a sense of personal identity. Parents and family members continue to exert an influence on how teens feel about themselves, but outside forces during this period really become particularly important. Friends, social groups, schoolmates, societal trends, and even popular culture play a role in shaping and forming identity for a teenager. Those who receive proper encouragement and reinforcement through personal exploration tend to emerge from this stage with a really strong sense of self and feelings of independence and control in their life. Those who remain unsure of their beliefs and desires will often feel insecure and confused about themselves and confused about the future. So, resolving the crisis at this stage of development involves committing to a particular identity. This could involve committing to a career path, deciding what kind of social groups you're going to associate with, and even developing a personal sense of style. Often, teenagers will begin to explore personal values, beliefs, and goals to develop a sense of self and personal identity. The outcome of these explorations will lead to the formation of their own sense of how they identify within society. Kids who are not allowed to explore and test out different identities might be left with what Erikson referred to as role confusion. These individuals are often not sure who they are or what they like. You often see that they could drift from job to job or relationship to relationship, not really sure what they want to do with their lives. So instead of feeling a sense of personal cohesiveness, they often feel disappointed and confused about their place in life. I believe it is really critical for parents at this stage to normalize for their kids that it is likely that they're going to be interested in potentially things that may not be healthy. They may struggle to want to experiment with alcohol. They may struggle to experiment with drugs, intimate relationships, sex, and other things. These are temptations that are going to be in their environment and their culture during this time, and it is really important to remind them that it is really normal and common for this to be a time where they begin to question their beliefs, they question their parents' beliefs, and they begin to explore things that maybe they haven't before. It's very common during this time that your teenager is going to start to kind of, I want to say, throw up against the wall everything that they were taught and decide, is this something that they want to adopt as adults as they move into adulthood? I think it's extremely critical as parents that we focus on creating a really safe space for our kids to discuss these challenges with us so that they don't have to hide them from us and we can be a voice of wisdom. They listen to us and they allow us a role in their life to guide them. One thing that I really want to encourage you about if you are the parent of a teenager is, first of all, if your child is going through this stage from 12 to 18 and they're questioning what they believe, if they're experimenting with things that you're worried about and they're really trying to figure out their place in the world and it doesn't look like what you want it to look like, just remember that it's really important to continue to be consistent and structured with your expectations and with guiding them and teaching them. But be careful that you don't alienate them by judging where they are, but rather create a safe space for them to talk about where they are and what they're dealing with. It doesn't mean that you should just let them do whatever they want, okay? It's really important for kids to have trust with you at this time, structure, and to know that they can trust you to guide them in a wise direction while they're struggling. But what you don't want to do is be a place where they feel like they can't talk to you about the things that they're struggling with. I want to encourage you, if you're working with a teenager or you are parenting a teenager, that this is really normal during this time. I had one really good friend that shared with me that parenting teenagers is kind of like whitewater rafting. You get into the boat and you hit the rapids at some point during the teenage years, but if you hold on and you stay steady and you stay in the boat, eventually the water is going to even out. So I just want to encourage you that this is really normal, and it's a time where you want to encourage your kid to explore their values and beliefs and let them take ownership. So if you have hard and fast beliefs that you know are going to be valuable, continue to be consistent with who you are, continue to model those beliefs and those values, and have hope and belief that if you allow your child to process through that at the end of that journey, it is more likely that they are going to pursue and become comfortable with those things if you haven't forced them to accept them because you accepted them. It's very common for a child to question religious beliefs, to think about 18 million different jobs they may want to have, to not be sure about if they want to get married or don't want to get married, all the things that are going to affect their adulthood. Just be a really good sounding board for them. Create structure and expectation and create a safe space for your child to work through these things, and know that what you're trying to do is create and nurture a young person that is moving into an adulthood stage. In a few years, they're not going to be in your house anymore, and what you want to do is make sure they've learned to make good choices, think for themselves, and that they have a stable and strong belief system so they can be successful long term.